Greetings and salutations, listeners. I are Jay Chucky, joined as always by the boy.
Hey.
This is the Two Nerds Podcast. Today we're talking about fighters. If that's okay.
Oh. Yeah, all right.
All right. Fighters are weirdly one of my favorite 5e classes.
That's because it's really, really good.
Really good, really versatile.
It's well made. It has, even from start, really good subclasses with a lot of variety in how you end up playing. Even the base class has some of the best variety in how you end up playing moment to moment. You can make an entire party in 5e using pretty much just the PHB of fighters. And they're all going to be pretty different.
Yeah, all the options with fighting styles and... fighting styles alone, even before you get into subclasses, just where your bonuses go and, what it informs about your character, the fighting style you pick.
Yeah, just and I'm talking just the PHB. With all the stuff they've added since then, Fighter is one of the best made. Maybe isn't my favorite class. I don't know that I'd be willing to say that, but it's one of the best made classes in 5e. I don't think that's debatable.
It's one of my favorite classes. Having played most of the 5e classes, at least for a little bit, it is definitely in the top half. So let's speak on Fighter. Fighter gets a bunch of attacks. Fighter gets
heavy armor, a bunch of attacks, and a wealth of different options in terms of how you want to do that.
They get that BA action surge. They get Indomitable, where you can re-roll your save if you fail. I don't know, man. They're just...
And aside from that, one of the reasons they're so flexible is because they just get so many goddamned ability bonuses.
Sure, that too.
And because we're cool DMs, we both allow feats. So that's just a mess of feats you can take, which can really customize a fighter even more if you roll decent stats to start. And it's just... It is one of my favorite things about Fighter, but makes them a bit harder to talk about because there is just so many different ways you can play a fighter.
Sure. I don't know if we'd ever really do a podcast on feats by themselves. There's not a lot to talk about there.
They're just generally good.
Yeah, there's some that are kind of mediocre and could probably use some tuning, but y'all know how to homebrew.
Yep. And they're just, they feel impactful in a way 3rd edition feats, as an example, just straight up did not.
Yeah. We made mention of that in a game over the weekend. My stealthy feat or something like that. The one that gives me stealth training. I believe it gives me +1 dex. And it lets you move 10 feet out in the open between stealth without breaking stealth.
End your movement somewhere not in the open.
Yeah.
That's cool as shit. It allows you to Batman past dudes.
Yeah, I was doing all kinds of awesome shit that really made me excited and, really made me enjoy making a battle feel dynamic, even though I was technically just moving in Shutan. And that's kind of one of the boring feats, It's not
Fighter is, if we're going to talk about feats anywhere besides say feats podcast, which you're right, there's not enough material. No. Fighter is the class to talk about feats on because they just get so many ability score improvements. To be perfectly frank, most of their class is ability score improvements.
Yeah, the stuff that isn't though is really nice. It's really nice. Fighter is your multi-class bar mix. Fighter is going to be a great dip.
Yeah, that's also true. In a way, some classes really aren't. Fighter is an excellent 1 or 2 level dip if you're going to be doing multi-classing. But by contrast, you don't really need to.
No.
If you want to make someone who fights with weapons, you can probably just do it with Fighter, regardless of who you're thinking of making.
There's a character I've been playing lately that I was looking at one of the classes, the subclasses in here, and was like, well, I could have avoided a lot of overcomplication if I'd gone that route instead, but...
Oh well.
Yeah, oh well. I'm pretty happy with what I got. Speaking of those subclasses, what do they call them for fighters? Fighting... no, not fighting styles.
3rd level. Martial archetype.
Martial archetype. Speaking of those martial archetypes, there's a lot of them. Let's run them down a little bit like we do.
And they're very, for the most part, very good with a couple stinkers sort of sprinkled throughout.
We've got the Arcane Archer, which is magic arrows and trick arrows.
It's Hawkeye.
Yeah, it's
you want to
Hawkeye
play specifically Hawkeye?
By way of spell casting. And they got some really cool trick arrow options.
Yeah, they do interesting things, and I'm glad it's not just you get arrows that cast this spell or that spell.
Yeah.
They do their own little bespoke magical effects, and some of them are very good.
And I'm glad it's not just fire arrows, ice arrows, bolt arrows. That's cool too, but come on.
They get some cool effects where you can turn your arrow into like a little mini lightning bolt where it's a straight line dex save for half. That's cool. They get one option where you can have fucking arrows that turn corners and chase down your foes.
That's cool.
It is specifically, the fluff is it's this ancient order of elven archers who know secret archer magic. But real talk, folks, it's fucking Hawkeye.
And I like that fighter in and of itself is the place where you can go to make an archer. You don't have to be a ranger to use a bow.
Yeah, you don't have to have the nature magic. You can just be a motherfucker what shoots bows and arrows.
Yeah. We then have the Battle Master, which has the combat techniques, which that's a lot of shit to go through. A lot of stuff in Fighter gives you a lot of little tiny options to go through that we're not going to get into.
No, I think general oeuvre in terms of discussing Battle Master is better. Sure. Battle Master is no Warlord is later on this list, but it came out much later. But it's kind of the Warlord equivalent for the start of 5e. Because Warlord was a class in 4e, and Battle Master is the thing that gives you some battlefield control and ability to utilize this extra this side resource to do things.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's Warlord. I'd say it's 4e fighter, as close as you're going to get in 5e.
That's true.
It's got those techniques
that's a better way
and
of
tricks and abilities you can use so many times per day or whatever to give yourself a little advantage. I have toyed around with a couple of techniques a couple of times. They're neat. I like them.
They're fine. Of all the fighter classes, this one is probably one that is well made still, but I probably wouldn't play it. Because if I want little tiny techniques and thingums, there's better versions of that later in this list, to be perfectly frank.
Let's talk about the Brute and Champion hand in hand here, because they're basically two sides of the same class.
Yeah, they are. You charge in, full attack in, your basic, stripped to the bones, fighteriest fighter.
Brutes get bonuses to their crits, their damage, their saves, and they get a regeneration feature at their capstone. Champions get bonuses to their crit range, some skill checks, and get regeneration as their capstone.
Basically, they're two different versions of the same overall idea, but spun in a way that really makes sense given their names. It kind of tells you what you need to know. Mm-hmm. The champion is your fucking sports star. He's the running, jumping, climbing trees man.
The Hercules.
The all-around, physical titan, as it were. The Brute is a motherfucker what punches faces real good.
And gets face punched and keeps going.
Yeah, just tough and basically Brute is Brute is fighter with barbarians, with a little barbarian sauce.
Yeah. In that same, two sides of a coin thing, Cavalier and Knight. I feel like Knight was made and then Cavalier was the finalized version of it, but I didn't bother looking that up.
Yeah, Knight is an unearthed arcana. I'm almost certain you're exactly right.
Right. But I feel like Knight is distinct enough that it's still playable. I don't think it's bad or anything.
You get some features in Knight that you don't get in Cavalier. I prefer Cavalier.
I do too.
Cavalier is just an absurdly good tank. Yeah. That, I read through those features and I was like, holy crap. They do some, unique, really good tank shit.
Yeah, and it feels like a really unique class, and I like it a lot. Cavalier is obviously mount-based.
But you don't really, none of the features actually require your mount.
Well, I mean, the ones that revolve around your mount do.
Not really, no.
The ones that have you, not being knocked off your mount.
Well, yeah, but that's one. That's one feature that says you're good at staying on your mount. And if you get knocked off your mount, you're fine. And you can get on your mount quicker. You get that at 3rd level, and that's the last thing in that class that actually requires your mount to work.
Yeah, I mean, like, but the thematically, running people down and shit like that is very mount based.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. It is, after all, the thing that came from Knight.
Right.
It absolutely makes sense, and it's a Cavalier. It being the mount-focused one is nice, but I like that they didn't actually make it mount-focused. Because here's a dirty little secret. Your mount will suck by, 3rd level. Because horses aren't very strong compared to a 5th level D&D character.
Right.
So I like that they didn't actually make it all that focused on your mount.
Well, like a good DM is gonna, be willing to play
give
around
you
with that.
Better horsies.
Yeah, you give them like $5, you can get some cool horse armor. Knight is a little more versatile off the mount. I think it's got that swift attack feature where you can make an extra attack.
Yeah.
If you have advantage, I think is what it's called.
Oh yeah, they ended up using that for samurai too.
Yes. So it's a nice middle ground between, and I wouldn't even say middle ground. It's other than that one feature, it's Cavalier, but I think it still is a cool option to have. I can understand it's probably more of an idea iteration that ended up being Cavalier, but I appreciate the granularity.
Yeah.
The Eldritch Knight is one I played twice now, 3 times maybe.
Eldritch Knight is a study in contrast for me. Because on the one hand, they have one of the coolest features. Weapon Bond is great.
Yeah, it really is.
On the other hand, there's one specific part of their class that I homebrew away instantly and forever, and I'm never not gonna. And that's the restriction on the schools of magic you can take for your Eldritch Knight spells.
And it's only on the ones you get initially. It's such a weird restriction because it says right in the text that you can get other schools later. Just those first couple spells have to be from that school. Which is
dumb and not fun and very beginning of 5e.
Yeah, that seems like the kind of restriction that
they would get away with. They would do away with now, considering the most recent Unearthed Arcana was essentially just, you know what, fuck classes, do whatever you want.
I like Eldritch Knight. I like it better than Warlock.
Between the two, if you're gonna do someone who is a little fighty and a little magic-y, and you don't want to play a Hexblade, be an Eldritch Knight before any other kind of Warlock.
Well, and Blasty Warlocks, the Eldritch Blast focused Warlocks, they're good.
Yeah, but if Eldritch Knight is really its Warlock counterpart is Hexblade.
Right.
Hexblade is about as good as Eldritch Knight, but between the two, I also kind of like Eldritch Knight a little better.
Yeah. Monster Hunter.
This one was super neat.
It was neat, and it's got this is another one of those that has an opposite number. Scout, the fighter scout, because I think there's a rogue scout too. Monster Hunter and Scout both get superiority dice and everything that entails.
But they don't get the same maneuvers as the Battle Master. They get different shit they can do with it. And if memory serves, I like the shit Monster Hunter can do with their superiority dice better than the shit Battle Master can do with theirs.
Yeah. Monster Hunters get Detect Magic and Protection from Good and Evil is
rituals.
Yeah, ritually spells. And I think Protection you can cast once per day or something. And then Scouts get the Ranger's Natural Explorer feat.
Yeah, Scout is... You take a bow, you use the archery, fighting style. You get a Scout, and congratulations, you're now the revised spell-less Ranger.
Monster Hunter, I'm not sure why they called it Monster Hunter. I guess that Detect Magic and
it's fluff.
Good and Evil, but yeah, that's a weird place to put.
It's a good set of fluff, honestly. It's very much like Van Helsing.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, Monster Hunter in that sense, that makes sense.
Not Monster Hunter like the video game.
Right, and that's where my brain went, because Monster Hunter. But
no, it's very much your Van Helsing, your Giles, your
Yeah, okay. From that angle,
Hellboy.
I totally understand it. Psychic Warrior, neither of us are really...
Tiefling Monster Hunter. I could play Hellboy.
You could play Hellboy with a really loaded up
crossbow? Yeah. Oh man. Let's add that one onto the pile of fighters I'm never gonna get to play.
Damn us for doing long campaigns all the time.
I know. We've gone from like level 1 to level 12 and we're heading to 20 and it's been so long and I just want to play more characters.
I feel you, my dude.
Just gonna yeet my character into a chasm next time we play so I can play Hellboy instead. Is that okay?
Live your dreams, my guy. The Psychic Warrior. Neither of us has fucked with psionics much, but I will say this is the first time in 5 goddamn editions that I've wanted to.
I fucked with psionics as a DM, but I haven't as a player, and to be perfectly honest, still feel no need to. It's just, okay, I get why it's there. It's cool. There's other things I want to do. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, it's not priority for me at all. Neither this nor the psionics class.
I find it to be an excellent tool as a DM.
Sure. But it's interesting. It's not untenable. It's not, why does this exist like it was in previous editions? Well, I mean, 4th edition, it was fine. It was another set of dailies, encounters, and at-wills. But
4th edition psionics were fucking excellent Jedi. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no. But in terms of like 3rd edition or 2nd edition, where they just, it seemed like, here is Wizard, but what if we made it unnecessarily complicated and tediously explained?
But you can be different.
And yeah, so there we go. No. But I think it's kind of cool now. Psychic Warrior is a lot like
it's not a bad class at all.
No, yeah. Except it's got like a bunch of like, they're really focused on beating the shit out of you with psychic damage, in addition to having some psionic spells.
Whereas Eldritch Knight is much more about giving you the option to take a bunch of support spells.
Yeah. And summon that blade to your side.
Just so cool. Still so goddamn cool.
The Purple Dragon Knight, or if you prefer a generic name, Knight Banneret. Am I saying that right?
Banneret, yeah.
They're like Warlord Light. The 4th edition Warlord, which I love so very, very much. They've got some very minor features.
For me, the fluff on Knight Banneret and like the little fluff things they get where you become good at Persuade.
Yeah.
That's what I want Knight to be.
Yeah,
whereas
just like
I want Cavalier to be noticeably different.
Sure.
So like for me, the Knight Cavalier thing, Knight feels much more to me like an unfinished Cavalier than it does to you.
Sure.
Whereas the contrast between Knight and Cavalier happens here for me. Because this feels like a Banneret. A Bannon, like a sworn sword. Someone who has his own hold and his own armies, and he comes when you call him because you're his feudal lord, and you guys all have to protect the serfs you own from the other guys.
To that sense, I don't know that the existing Knight subclass, I agree, it is definitely Proto-Cavalier. I like the differences. I like that being an option. I don't know that it needs to be called Knight. I'm sure you could call it something the hell else. I can't think of anything off the top of my head for once, but there's stuff out there.
Whereas for me, this feels like a Knight.
I agree. This feels like a very courtly Knight. I would say Knight would be the great class for that, and Banneret's a nice way to signify that.
It's separated out, and it really makes it clear that this is the man who is moving up in the world. Mm-hmm. He is someone who has responsibilities he has to answer to. Given
our modern, this is something you'd call the hand of the king.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Next up is Rune Knight, which I love and hate.
You love the features, but hate how tight it is to the giant lore, right?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I like giants, I think they're interesting, but I think this class is capable of being interesting on its own.
This class was kind of unnecessarily hobbled by being tied down to giant lore.
Yeah, I think it's got great stuff there, but like...
What the runes can do, what the runes do, what the other class features that aren't runes give you is very much baked into giant lore. When we first saw it, I kind of gave White a little bit of guff, talking about how it's just fluff in 5e. It's not 4th edition, but it's still pretty easy to scrub off. But I was reading through it tonight, and not really.
Yeah, you've got that embiggening ability.
You get big as a thing, and like you grow tall, like permanently, just a little taller. As a feature, it's very tied into giant lore, which is neat. But I feel unnecessarily hobbles what is otherwise a very interesting idea.
It's as I said before, sorcerers have a giant bloodline, but the whole thing about sorcerers is you have a creature bloodline.
Yeah, you are descended from X. Your great 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 grandma fucked an X.
or stood too near one for a while. And I think like that's what I want from my sorcerer is I want that kind of shit from my fighter.
It feels
however,
right,
especially if you're going to call it a rune knight, makes me want runes.
Well, I think, and there's also, and then you get a bunch.
You do,
but for me, the fundamental difference is sorcerer is a class about being descended from or chosen by power.
Yes.
Fighter is a class about earning power.
And if you earn that through runes you inscribe on your weapon, awesome.
You earn your spurs as a knight. You don't... granted, yes, I know you also have to probably be a noble, blah, blah, blah. This is D&D, not history class. Calm down, nerds!
Get excited, nerds. Write in the comments.
But you earn your spurs.
Right.
You have to.
Yeah.
You have to be good enough. It being so tied in with lore that is fundamentally not... Like, it works really well for, like, a Firbolg would be fine.
Sure.
As a rune knight. That mixes well. But...
And you could do a human.
Or Goliath.
Or Goliath, that'd be great.
But, like, I'm never going to play a halfling rune knight.
You mentioned halflings, and I meant to bring this up
Then
earlier.
again... If your size is not large, you become large. When you start small, it's pretty good.
Yuck chuck.
I'm small, but I have power!
I know it's been done before. It's nothing new. But as shitty as your mount might be, cavalier, halfling, or goblin on a wolf or a dog or whatever, yes. Oh, I can't take my horse into the dungeon, therefore my mounted capabilities are lessened. You are thinking inside the box. You need to think outside that shit, or deeper inside the box, as it were, because you are smaller compared to the size of the box. Get fucking goblin on a giant rat.
Fuck it, yes!
But yeah, I
The rat's name is Mittens. Add that one to the pile!
Rune Knight could have been a lot more witchery. And I think it, like, where it is gianty. And I feel
like Rune Knight could have been more witchery, but it would have started to stomp on Monster Hunter's toes.
Sure. Or you could have gone more Norse without specifically giants.
Yep.
This moves us to Samurai, which have fighting spirit. And I do want to say, as well, I love the number of ways fighter goes, okay, here's a default structure of a D&D character.
Here's a skeleton.
Yeah, the skeleton of every D&D character. You really don't have that much that anybody else doesn't have. And then they've got so many ways that go, but better.
But here's how you excel.
Here's why you are greater than X. Here's why even though you've got a dude that can blow up the whole room, you are going to fuck anything you hit.
And I've seen it in action. I am currently playing an 12th level, we leveled up last session, Sorcerer. And I don't fuck around. I have high damage spells and some broke-ass magic items that let me do more damage. The champion fighter will routinely outdamage me in a round. If he uses his action surge and just hits all 7 times because he's dual-wielding, he's just going to... in his flat bonuses, he's already got like 40.
There's one little cheat thing we're doing, and I use the cheat term loosely because he's got dragon claws as his short swords. But like if I changed out one small bonus for a feat that lets him dual wield large weapons, which is a thing,
he would just be using big swords.
He would just be using great swords, and this would not be any different.
And the only reason we're doing it is because the character's based on Drax the Destroyer, and we want him to have knives. That's it.
And they kill the dragon, and
And so we took its claws.
Yeah.
That was a great way to give him good weapons that are still new knives because he's Drax. Fuck you. And even if he wasn't, he could just be using a normal sized weapon and a regular dagger, and he'd be down maybe 3d6.
Yeah.
On all 7 attacks.
He's
because
a menace.
Technically speaking, in dual wielding, all of the attacks are with your main hand weapon except the bonus action one.
Right.
So he'd be down on 7 attacks, 1d6.
Yeah.
The rest would be the same.
Yeah.
So the little cheat thing is giving him plus 1d6 a round. He could take that off and still comfortably outdamage me.
Yeah, he's fucking dangerous. But Samurai specifically, fighting spirit, you give yourself advantage in temp HP so many times per day or short rest or whatever.
It's anime protagonist powers.
Yeah.
It is specifically anime protagonist it looks bad. The protagonist's face is down, blood comes dripping, but then the soundtrack starts to swell and he looks up and screams like plus ultra, and then he has just one more attack.
Capstone is you get an extra fucking turn if you die. You can ignore dying for now. Put that off to the side. And take your turn.
I love that Samurai has anime protagonist powers, and one of its abilities is that thing from Night, which I feel fits much better here.
Yeah.
Which is ora 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 ora.
It's I dig Samurai a lot. This is the first time I've seen it done in a fun way. I don't know how historically accurate it is.
Oh god, not at all, but I don't give a shit. Just so we're clear, I don't care.
Yeah.
This is anime protagonist, and I love it.
One of my next character is going to be a bug wizard, so, like, I don't care about historical accuracy. I don't remember those from Bible times.
No, I'm not going to top that. Move along.
Sharpshooter is the next class that we haven't already talked about.
It's kind of like more boring Arcane Archer, to be honest.
But like if you don't want to do spellcraft, if you just want to be actual Hawkeye, like not even like Trick Arrow's Hawkeye, like movie Hawkeye.
If you want to be Robin Hood.
If you want to be Robin Hood, sure. Just hitting people with arrows. And they get the same swift attack thing, so they get extra arrows. Like, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just boring compared to Arcane Archer.
There's a lot you're going to be able to do with it, though, because, like, well, and it has a limitation. One thing, if I were making this class again, I would change is the way they do their sharpshooter feature, which is like the sharpshooter feat in every way, except for the -5 to hit, +10 to damage.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could do most of Sharpshooter as a class by just taking the Sharpshooter feat.
And then the close quarters combat fighting style.
Yep.
Or close quarters archery.
Put those two together, do an Arcane Archer, now you're both!
Sure. But this also frees you up to use feats in other ways so that you can play like someone who is a sharpshooter, but, has...
other many cool feat things.
Yeah. Or just stats forever. I am all 20s.
That's not unreasonable with some of the stat arrays I've rolled, that by the 20th level fighter, I could just be a row of 20s.
There's a reason I hung on to this character despite frustrations. Slayer. Did we talk about Slayer?
No.
No. They're very similar to a bunch of other shit here. They get martial exploits. There's, like, you only get 3 of them and they only get better. Like, there's not, like, a bunch of options like the other things.
But you get... like, extra dice and damage. It's a much more DPS focused version of Battlemaster, essentially.
Basically. We have the Warlord. It's the Warlord.
Yep.
It's less, I am healing you for no reason kind of thing, which they do heal you, but it's way more focused around using tactics in a certain area and, like, talking people through shit and stuff, which is what I thought was really cool about the Warlord. Probably going to play one of those at some point.
I remember, when I read through it, I remember being underwhelmed by the mechanics, but I like that it's there.
I like the mechanics. Like, I love that the Warlord donates their turns and all that shit.
That's one of those things that's great about Fighter is that, I don't really feel like playing a Warlord. I only have, 12 other really good options.
Right. And we'll just mention briefly the Weapon Master.
It's not done.
It's not done.
It was on a live stream. They didn't go past level 10. I assume it's like a preview for something they're coming out with.
Maybe it's just something they were playing around with at the request of the players.
No.
It looks like Tome of Battle stuff, but just it only goes halfway. So
we're not quite to the weeaboo fighting magic yet.
Keep your hopes up. So out of all of these, what's your favorite subclass?
That is a really damn hard question because there are so many of these that I think would be excellent to play.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, like, overall exciting to play, like, oh man, I could really make something cool out of that. I like, my first instinct is Arcane Archer because I like Bow Guy.
Yeah.
But I think it's gotta be Samurai. The anime protagonist powers are just too goddamned fun.
I think what interests me most, if I'm being honest with myself, my favorite class is probably Eldritch Knight.
The weapon bond alone is like is great.
And it sounds so simple, and I've played it twice, and that's not usually how I go with these. Usually it's like, oh, I haven't played that yet, and I really want to. But if I'm being real, that's probably what my favorite is. Beyond that, something I'm excited to play, definitely the Warlord, definitely the Banneret, or the Purple Dragon Knight, if you prefer. I would like to see how Brute compares to Champion, because while I haven't been rolling the dice, the Drax is an NPC. I've been playing a Champion.
Yeah, one of the other players rolls the dice, because that's more fair.
Yeah, and more fun. I think those are probably the ones that speak to me the most. And again, though, Cavalier is halfling on a capybara, man. Let's do this.
Cavalier, and I think there's an alternate feature, a fighting style, Tunnel Fighter, I think it is.
Yeah.
Slap that on a Cavalier. Congratulations, you are now fucking impossible to get past.
Oh man, that'd be so cool. You get like a bullet or something.
Yeah, you are the next best thing to impossible to get past.
Dwarf on a bullet. That'd be awesome.
Dwarf on a nug.
Ugh, one of those nugs with fists for some reason. Yeah,
dwarf on a nugalope. Come on, you rotters, get past me. Add him to the pile.
Could you clean that up a little bit? It's kind of like seeping over into my
so
space.
many fighters.
Other than Weapon Master, which is not done, what is your least favorite of these classes?
Honestly, it's got to be like a tie between several, because none of them are bad. I called them stinkers earlier, but they're not bad. They're just fucking dull compared to the others. And that's Sharpshooter, which is just, for me, it's just ultimately more boring Arcane Archer. They are different, but I would never make a Sharpshooter when Arcane Archer is right there.
I mean, like, I looked at it and went, yeah, this would have been a more simple way to do what I wanted to do, but at the same time, I am still going to play my multi-classed Ranger Rogue.
Yep.
So
I mean, it's way cooler.
It's way fucking cooler.
Scout, which again is just kind of meh. And Battlemaster. Not because it's bad, but just because it's just this side of enough of a pain in the ass that if I'm going to be going to that much effort, I'd rather play Spellcaster.
I don't think it's your kind of personality. And I don't think it's my personality either, because a lot of those fighters are a little too mundane for my tastes. Those are the kind of classes I would choose. Like, fighter in general is a class I would choose if I'm way more about what race my character is than what they do in combat.
Yeah, because fighter, again, is a skeleton.
Yeah.
You can project a lot of stuff onto that.
I think my least favorite is Slayer.
That's absolutely fair. It's just DPS. It's literally slightly more boring, but somehow just as complex Battlemaster.
Yeah, it's just, it doesn't give me enough bang for my buck. And like with a name like Slayer,
I want them to be doing cooler shit.
Yeah.
I want them to be getting bonuses based on the things they kill.
Yeah.
That's what I want. If something's going to be called
that'd
Slayer...
actually be really fucking cool.
If something's going to be called Slayer, I want, like, a table that has a list of the kinds of things there are, like humanoid, giant, construct, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, the same thing as like a ranger's favorite enemy, but you get different bonuses based on how many of those things you've killed.
Or, like, which one you've killed most recently.
Sure. Oh, yeah, that's good, too.
That's what I want out of a class called Slayer. Not just Battlemaster, but somehow more boring.
How do you subvert a fighter? Well, you make him a pacifist, I guess.
Yeah. You could probably pull it off, too.
That one's
Warlord.
Tricky. Yeah, Warlord, I guess. You just play a Warlord.
You fight him.
Yeah,
you fight him. You fight him.
I mean, I guess we've discussed this before, too. The Rock and the Rundown.
Yeah, you basically pick someone. You play someone who is... You intentionally play suboptimally until it's time to get real.
Yeah.
And that's basically... Because, well, the thing is, there's not much fighter there to subvert. It's such a skeleton by itself that you'd almost have to pick a subclass and try and subvert that.
If I may, actually, here real quick, I'm not... I've forgotten his fucking name.
Tulok the Barbarian?
Yeah, I'm not Tulok the Barbarian, but...
no, far fewer subscribers and fewer views.
Let's make the Rock from the Rundown real quick here. We're going to take Sharpshooter, and we're going to buy a lot of skill feats.
Do me a favor, go to the 5e tools.
Oh, yeah, sure.
There's a specific thing I want to grab.
What are we looking at?
All right, so you're going to go to Fighter. You have it open here. You're fine. Scroll down.
Yeah.
Scroll down. We are going to get Unarmed Fighting as our fighting style.
Okay.
Because for most of the movie, he is punching dudes.
Yeah,
and he is
true.
quite good at it.
Yeah.
And then for... I can't decide between champion and brute for like my natural idea, because he is good with guns, but like that's but once he does pick up the gun,
that rapid strike too.
But once he starts using the guns, he's like supernaturally absurdly good with them, whereas he's just like really good punching people.
Well, even still, you could pick like was it Tavern Brawler as one of your feats. You can pick a bunch of skill shit as your feat.
Yeah, skill shit, Tavern Brawler. You get the unarmed fighting style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you're not going to be using bows most of the time, so you want your core fighting style to be something you get a little more out of, a little chutzpah. You get Tavern Brawler. Actually, I don't think you need it. I think the unarmed fighting style is just Tavern Brawler, but like better.
Let's check real quick. The bludgeoning damage. Oh my god, that is. I love that. Well, you maybe use the 2-lock Tavern Brawler. I don't know that adds damage, but wow, that's really good.
Yeah,
I really like that.
It allows you to play someone who fights with their bare hands who isn't a martial artist.
Yeah,
just someone who is a meat man.
Yeah,
like The Rock from Rundown. And then you pick sharpshooter as his class, and you only pick up the bow when you are done fucking around.
Mm-hmm. Take a lot of like skills and shit, like I said, so that you got someone who's charming, who's good at tracking people, but isn't a ranger.
And you have all of those feats and ability modifiers to do it with.
That's how I would subvert to fighter, I think. There you go. You can play that character, practice your eyebrow raises.
That one's not going on the pile.
No, I don't really want to play that character. I like fighting and wrestling.
I might play a version of that who isn't fucking around and is just The Rock. I might play the Boulder.
Fucking, this is the question. Okay, you got your pile over there. Who would you play next? Is it Hellboy? Is it Tunnel Raider? It's
a tie between Hellboy and Oghren. Oghren, the tunnel fighting cavalier riding a Nuggalope or something, just because that is an absurdly good tank. Just you're next to impossible to get past.
I just happened to think of something here.
Or, I mean, straight up just play literally Hellboy. Which would be fun as hell.
Whether you're mounted or not. Okay. I could play the Juggernaut with the Cavalier.
Yep.
That's important.
Because Ferocious Charger doesn't take an actual mount.
No, it doesn't.
Specifically notes that it doesn't.
Oh boy.
10 feet in a straight line, and you are unstoppable. I'm on the edge. That's a joke you guys aren't going to get
that. I might have told that story on the podcast before, honestly. So go back and watch all of our podcasts. I don't know specifically. I mean, I'd play probably a Warlord or a Banneret if I had to play a fighter next. I'm not going to go back to fighter for a while. I've got other shit I want to do.
I might. It looks really fun.
Fighter's really good.
And the character I'm playing right now is really complex. And I spend most of every battle juggling my actions to get maximum use of bonus action, and movement every single turn. Mm-hmm. And, like, keeping multiple effects up and juggling concentration spells. And it might be really good just to go Brute Fighter and smash people's faces. Or play Oghren and just get to play a fucking loud, rude, belching dwarf.
We move past that, quote-unquote, as we age and play more D&D, where we're no longer those tropes of, yes, I am barbarian, I enjoy sex alcohol.
The barbarian I played recently enjoyed sex alcohol.
Yeah.
Emerald was a party rocker. She was great.
Yeah. But like, every now and then indulge in that shit. I'm going to viscerally enjoy how upset my horrible bug spells are going to make the rest of my party.
Because I'm going to hit descriptive.
Oh, it's going to be so horrible. It's going to be awful. Guys, I hope I have a story by the time we get to Wizard. I might not, given, just time. But, woof, this bug wizard's going to be sexy.
Fighter's a damn good class.
Fighter's an amazing class. Definitely in the top half. Toward the upper end. I love Cleric and Paladin, too. And fucking Artificer. Oh. There's so much good stuff to talk about on this podcast.
And everything's better when nerds talk about it. Fuck it!